Here's the thing, nobody tells you about heartbreak. It doesn't just end when the relationship does. It follows you everywhere. It sits with you during your morning coffee. It whispers in your ear when you're trying to sleep. And it makes every love song on the radio feel like a personal attack. I thought I'd be over this by now. I really did. But healing, real healing, it's messier than what they show you in movies. It's uglier. It's lonelier than you could ever imagine. So today, I'm going to tell you exactly how I've been trying to forget him. The good, the bad, and the completely pathetic. Because maybe, just maybe, if you're going through this too, you'll realize you're not as broken as you think you are. Let me paint you a picture of my life right now. I wake up every morning and the first thing I do is check my phone. Not for work emails or weather updates. I check to see if he texted me. 4 months later, and I'm still hoping for that good morning message that's never coming. My apartment feels different now. Everything reminds me of him. The couch where we used to watch movies, the kitchen counter where he'd make me breakfast on weekends, even the damn bathroom mirror reflects memories I can't escape. I've rearranged the furniture 3 times, bought new curtains, changed the bed sheets. But you know what? You can't redecorate your way out of heartbreak. Trust me, I've tried. The worst part isn't the big moments. It's the small ones, like when I automatically buy his favorite brand of coffee at the grocery store. Or when I reach for my phone to send him a funny meme and remember, he doesn't want to hear from me anymore. But here's what's really messing with my head. I keep wondering if he's going through the same thing. Does he wake up thinking about me? Does he miss the way I used to steal his hoodies? Or has he just moved on? That thought keeps me up at night. The possibility that while I'm here drowning in memories, he's out there living his best life without me. The first month was, let's call it my stalking phase. And before you judge me, I know you've been there too. We all have that one ex we've cyber-stalked like it was a full-time job. I memorized his social media patterns. I knew exactly when he'd post stories. I had notifications turned on for everything. His Instagram, his Twitter, even his LinkedIn. Because apparently, I thought his career updates would give me clues about his emotional state. I became a detective of my own heartbreak, analyzing every post, every like, every comment from mutual friends, looking for signs that he missed me, hoping to see him looking miserable in photos. Pathetic? Absolutely. But when you're heartbroken, logic goes out the window. Then came the screenshots. Oh God, the screenshots. I have an entire folder on my phone dedicated to pictures of him, pictures of us, screenshots of our old conversations that I'd read over and over like some twisted bedtime story. My best friend finally staged an intervention. She literally took my phone and blocked him on everything. I was furious at first, but looking back, it was the kindest thing anyone had ever done for me. Because here's what I learned. You can't heal from someone while still consuming them every day. It's like trying to quit smoking while carrying a pack in your pocket. But blocking him, that was just the beginning of my real journey. So I decided to try the classic rebound approach. The best way to get over someone is to get under someone else, right? Wrong. So incredibly wrong. I downloaded every dating app known to humanity, swiped until my thumb went numb, went on dates with guys who were perfectly nice but felt like cardboard compared to him. Every conversation felt forced. Every laugh felt fake. There was this one guy, sweet, attractive, had his life together. On paper, he was perfect. But when he kissed me goodnight after our 3rd date, all I could think about was how different it felt. How his hands weren't the right size. How he smelled wrong. I went home that night and cried in my shower for an hour. Not because the date was bad, but because I realized how far I was from being ready for someone new. I was still completely ruined by someone who didn't even want me anymore. That's when I deleted all the apps. Decided to focus on myself instead. But focusing on yourself when you're heartbroken is like trying to meditate in the middle of a tornado. I threw myself into work, stayed late every night, took on extra projects, anything to keep my mind busy. But busy isn't the same as healed. I was just postponing the inevitable breakdown. And breakdown I did. But that's where things started to get interesting. It happened on a random Tuesday night. I was making dinner, pasta because that's all I had energy for anymore, when our song came on my playlist. You know how they say music can transport you? Well, it transported me straight back to hell. I was standing in my kitchen, holding a wooden spoon, and suddenly I was sobbing. Not cute, single tear crying. Full body, can't breathe, snotty face sobbing. The kind that makes you question if you're having a mental breakdown. I called him. Yes, I called him. 4 months of no contact, and I broke it like a complete fool. It went straight to voicemail, and hearing his voice on the recording made everything worse. I hung up and immediately called my sister instead. She drove over at 11 p.m. with ice cream and tissues, found me on my kitchen floor in pajamas, surrounded by tissues, looking like a disaster movie survivor. And you know what she said? Good, you needed this. I thought she was crazy. How could this be good? I felt like I was dying. But she explained something that changed everything. She said I'd been running from the pain instead of sitting with it. And until I actually felt it, all of it, I'd never get through it. That night, I made a decision. I was going to stop running. I was going to face this head on, no matter how much it hurt. The next morning, I did something I'd been avoiding for 4 months. I wrote him a letter. Not to send, just to get everything out of my head and onto paper. I wrote about how angry I was, how abandoned I felt, how I missed the way he'd make me laugh until my stomach hurt, how I missed feeling like someone's priority, how I missed having someone to share random moments with. But I also wrote about the things I didn't miss, his jealousy when I'd spend time with friends, how he'd shut down during arguments instead of talking things through, how he made me feel like I was asking for too much when all I wanted was consistency. Writing that letter was like performing surgery on my own heart. Painful, but necessary. And for the first time in months, I felt lighter. Not healed, but lighter. That's when I realized something crucial. I hadn't just been mourning him. I'd been mourning the version of myself that existed in that relationship. The girl who'd rearrange her entire schedule for his convenience, who'd bite her tongue to avoid conflict, who'd settle for crumbs of affection and call it love. Maybe losing him wasn't just a loss. Maybe it was also a rescue. I started doing things I hadn't done in years. Simple things, but they felt revolutionary. I took a pottery class, learned to make bread from scratch, started reading books that weren't about heartbreak and healing. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected during the relationship. You know how it is. When you're coupled up, you start declining invitations, choosing Netflix and chill over girls' nights. I had some apologizing to do. My friend Sarah was brutally honest with me. She said, "I watched you disappear into that relationship. You stopped being you and started being his girlfriend." It stung because it was true. I'd molded myself into what I thought he wanted instead of being who I actually was. So I started a list. Sounds cheesy, but hear me out. I wrote down everything I used to love before him. Everything I'd given up or changed to accommodate his preferences. The list was longer than I expected. I used to love horror movies. He hated them, so we never watched them. I started having weekly horror movie nights with myself. Sounds sad, but it was actually liberating. I used to be spontaneous. Weekend road trips, random concerts, trying new restaurants. With him, everything had to be planned weeks in advance. So I started saying yes to last-minute invitations again. Small things, but they added up. I was remembering who I was before I became half of a couple. The real breakthrough came during a conversation with my therapist. Yes, I finally started therapy. Should have done it months earlier, but that's another story. She asked me something that stopped me cold. What are you really grieving? Him or the future you thought you'd have together? I sat there for 10 minutes in silence, because the truth was, I wasn't just missing him. I was missing the engagement I thought was coming, the house we'd talked about buying, the kids we'd dreamed of having, the version of my life where I wasn't starting over at 32. I'd been mourning a future that existed only in my imagination, a future built on someone who was never as committed as I thought he was. That session changed everything. I realized I'd been grieving a fantasy, not a reality, and you can't heal from something that never existed in the first place. But here's the plot twist that nobody saw coming, including me. 3 weeks ago, I was at a coffee shop downtown when I heard a familiar laugh. I turned around, and there he was, with someone new. Not just anyone. My coworker, Jessica. Jessica, who'd been so supportive during our breakup, who'd brought me lunch when I was too sad to eat, who'd listened to me cry about him for hours. Jessica, who apparently started dating him 2 weeks after we broke up. The betrayal hit differently than I expected. I wasn't devastated. I was furious. 4 months of thinking he needed space to figure himself out, and he'd been with someone else almost immediately. Someone who knew exactly how broken I was over him. I wanted to confront them, create a scene. Let everyone in that coffee shop know what kind of people they were. But instead, I did something that surprised even me. I walked away. Quietly. Calmly. And I felt free. Because seeing them together answered the question that had been haunting me for months. Did he miss me? Was he suffering like I was? The answer was clearly no. And somehow, finally knowing was better than wondering. So here's where I am now. 4 months post-breakup. 3 weeks post-revelation. And honestly, I'm okay. Not happy every day, but okay most days. I still have moments where I miss him, usually when I'm tired or stressed or lonely, but those moments are getting shorter, less frequent, less intense. I've stopped checking his social media, blocked Jessica too, obviously, deleted his number for real this time, not just the contact, but memorized digits too. My apartment finally feels like mine again. I bought plants, lots of plants. Painted an accent wall bright yellow because I've always loved yellow and he said it was too cheerful. Turns out I like cheerful. I'm dating again, but differently this time. Not desperately searching for his replacement, but genuinely excited to meet new people. Had coffee with someone last week who made me laugh until I snorted. It felt good to be myself without apology. The biggest change? I'm not afraid of being alone anymore. I actually enjoy my own company now. Friday nights on my couch with takeout and a good book feel like a choice, not a consolation prize. If you're going through this too, here's what I wish someone had told me. First, blocking them everywhere isn't mean, it's necessary. You can't heal while still consuming their life through a screen. Second, the rebound thing is a myth. You can't use another person to avoid your feelings. Trust me, I tried. Third, rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation. You have to feel the pain to process it. There's no shortcut through heartbreak. Fourth, you're not just grieving the person, you're grieving the future you thought you'd have. And that's okay. Grieve it fully, then let it go. Fifth, people will show you who they really are if you pay attention. Sometimes losing someone reveals they weren't who you thought they were anyway. And finally, you're stronger than you think. I know it doesn't feel that way right now, but you're going to survive this. You're going to rebuild. And you might even be better than before. 4 months ago, I thought losing him was the worst thing that could happen to me. Now I'm starting to think it might have been exactly what I needed. I'm not grateful for the pain. I wouldn't wish this on anyone, but I'm grateful for what the pain taught me, about resilience, about self-worth, about the difference between settling and thriving. I'm not completely over him yet. Healing isn't linear, and some days are harder than others. But I'm over the version of myself that would accept less than she deserved. The girl who cried on her kitchen floor 4 months ago? She's still here, but she's braver now. Stronger. Less afraid of being alone because she's learned the difference between being alone and being lonely. And maybe that's what healing really is. Not forgetting what hurt you, but remembering who you are without it. If you're listening to this and going through your own heartbreak, you're going to be okay. Not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. And when you are, you'll understand what I mean when I say, sometimes the best thing someone can do for you is walk away. Take care of yourself. You're worth fighting for, even when it feels like you're fighting alone.